Yo, what's going on, y'all? This is Marcus Rosa, a.k.a. Mazuma TV. Back at y'all with some more boxing talk, man. I hope everybody's having a blessed, beautiful, positive, productive night. I hope you had a great day overall, man. I'm back at y'all with some more boxing talk. Just wanted to speak about this whole Devin Haney and Lewis Crocker situation, man. I've seen a lot of people talking about it. I've seen Eddie Hearn's interview on Ring Magazine. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out, man. Because the more information that keeps coming out from Eddie Hearn's mouth or whatever the case is, the nastier it is looking, at least on Devin Haney's side. You see what I'm saying? If y'all watched the interview, we heard Eddie Hearn basically admit that Devin Haney versus Lewis Crocker only happens if Turki Alalshikh pays for it. Not The Zone, not Matchroom, but Turki Alalshikh. You see what I'm saying? But now we're hearing somebody who hasn't even fought at 140 pounds yet. Keyshawn Davis is being considered to fight Lewis Crocker next at 147 for a world title. Make it make sense, y'all. Make it make sense. But we're going to talk about it. Let's start with Devin Haney. Obviously, Devin Haney is the WBO champion right now. Lewis Crocker is the IBF champion right now. He got elevated, I believe, right after Keyshawn Davis vacated his title. So on paper, this is a unification fight that makes pure boxing sense. Unifications. Bill Haney already spoke to Eddie Hearn. The interest is real. The negotiations were real as well. But when Eddie Hearn spoke on it publicly, he basically said both fighters want some serious money for it. Money he doesn't believe he'll make back in reality. And the only way to get it done is if Turki Alalshikh funds the situation. We heard him say previously he's not too fond of Devin Haney's style all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? So this all just translates to, yeah, the fight is cool, but I'm not losing money on Devin Haney. You know what I'm saying? When it should be, I'm not losing money on Lewis Crocker because Devin Haney's clearly the bigger draw. Anyways, and that is where boxing is at right now. We going from asking, is this a legacy fight to, is this financially a safe fight? And will Saudi cover the risk? You see what I'm saying? And when we look at all of the big fights that are happening in boxing, you know, pretty much all of it goes through Turki Alalshikh. That's the new era of boxing, right? Now let's talk about Turki, because even the angle isn't as simple as people think. You see what I'm saying? Because I spoke on Turki Alalshikh. I've been highly critical of him in the past. And people keep saying, well, it's a unification. Why wouldn't Turki want it? Well, if y'all been watching the lives and stuff like that, Turki Alalshikh is not the biggest fan of belts like that. You see what I'm saying? He's literally said before that he is not a charity. He said that shit about Keyshawn Davis and all types of people. He's not paying millions to watch two sanctioning bodies be involved in a fight. You see what I'm saying? Turki Alalshikh doesn't move off of like technical importance, if that's the right way to say it. He moves off of moments, events, fights that shake the sport and at least feel big. You see what I'm saying? I already told y'all what his end game was with Riyadh and all of that. And let's be real, Turki Alalshikh literally owns the Ring Magazine, so he could really care less about any other sanctioning bodies except his own. You know what I'm saying? He's way more big into, you know, the Ring Magazine championship, you know, lineal championships, you know what I'm saying? The who's that guy type of energy than just the WBO and not IBF. You feel what I'm saying? So just because something is a unification does not automatically make it a must-see fight, at least in Saudi's eyes. You see what I'm saying? So now the real question becomes, is Turki a big enough fan of Devin Haney? You know, he's had a lot of respect for Devin Haney in the past and stuff like that. As a star, as an attractant, as a headliner, like, you know, with all of that being put together, you know, is he going to be willing to spend millions on this fight? Or does he feel like Devin needs a bigger, more dangerous, more buzz-worthy opponent before he cuts that check? This is something that we have to take into consideration because this may be the honest reality behind all of this. But now let's get to the disrespectful part, in my opinion. I deem this to be extremely disrespectful because while all of this is being said about Devin Haney being too expensive and not being an exciting style, and, you know, Eddie Hearn admitting that it may not be profitable enough, suddenly Keyshawn Davis, somebody who just fucked up his fight against Edwin De Los Santos at 135, is being considered to fight Lewis Crocker at 47. Keyshawn Davis, the fighter who hasn't even fought at 140 yet, let alone 147. No resume at welterweight whatsoever. No evidence he belongs in that division yet. We don't even know how he fits in at 140, and he's magically in line for a world title fight. Like I said, y'all, make it make sense. That doesn't feel like boxing business. That feels like boxing politics, you know, on some real shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, Keyshawn got some good things going for himself besides the bullshit he just went through. He's young, I guess marketable, was once backed by ESPN, Olympian. And if Crocker, you know, were to beat Keyshawn somehow, some way, you know what I'm saying? Crocker gets that big American name on his resume that may be a lower risk than fighting Devin Haney. You know what I'm saying? And if Keyshawn wins somehow, now they have a young, two-time American champion that's gonna be back in the good graces of his promoters or whatever the case is. You know what I'm saying? But you know who doesn't win at the end of the day? Devin the Dream Haney. And now we got to keep it real. Just based off of how the way this shit is starting to unfold, or at least look at this point, it looks like Devin Haney's being frozen out, I guess you would say. I don't know how you want to say it, but boxing has done this before. You know what I mean? Especially when fighters are independent, when fighters refuse to be controlled. You know what I mean? When you got their own promotional company, when fighters don't let promoters own them, the industry tries to punish them some way, somehow. You know what I'm saying? They try to stall their career's momentum. They try to block access to belts. They try to force you to bend to their wants and their needs, their structure. You see what I'm saying? And Devin isn't signed to Eddie. Eddie isn't undermatched from him. You know what I'm saying? Devin doesn't owe anybody anything. He's independently powerful thanks to his father, Bill Haney. You see what I'm saying? And boxing, like I said, boxing hates fighters they cannot control. You see what I'm saying? Look at my son right here. Look at him. Being newsy. Then when you really take into consideration like Eddie Hearn's personal ego on top of it, you know, being highly critical of Devin Haney in the past and stuff like that. Look at this boy. Come on, man. See? That's why you gotta chill with these kids, man. Look, this boy attached to me like shit. But we heard Devin Haney be criticized by Eddie Hearn religiously at this point. We seen how salty he's been ever since Devin Haney stopped doing business with him. We've seen the subtle shots, especially after the Brian Norman fight, and now Eddie controls access to the belt Devin wants. Come on, man. You already know what it is. It's almost like if you ain't signing with me, or I'm not benefiting you in any, and if you're not benefiting me in any way, there's no point in making a fight with you, unless Saudi want to cash us out. You see what I'm saying? So like I was saying previously, it sounds less like business, more like bitterness, more like ego, more like someone who does not want to give Devin Haney another opportunity to win another belt. Because Devin winning doesn't benefit Eddie. You see what I'm saying? If Devin beats Crocker, which I'm sure he will, in all honesty, Eddie not going to profit from that. He'll actually take a loss off of that. And Eddie doesn't control Devin. Eddie doesn't get credit. And Devin gains more leverage. And promoters hate that at the end of the day. So when you take all of this into consideration, we're here. You know what I mean? Eddie Hearn is saying shit like, I'm not paying, Saudi has to. Turkey has already said, I'm not a charity, I only fund big fights. You know what I'm saying? So is Turkey going to look at this as a big fight? Is he going to look out for Devin Haney? You know what I'm saying? Somehow, some way, Keyshawn Davis magically jumps in line while Devin is sitting around waiting for another big opportunity, trying to keep his momentum high. This doesn't look like a coincidence to me. This looks like the opposite. This looks like intention. This looks like control. This looks like they're attempting to freeze Devin Haney out. You feel what I'm saying? So my take overall in this whole situation, man, is that this whole situation exposed modern boxing perfectly. You see what I'm saying? Legacy matters to fans. You already know how we do it on Mazuma TV. Belts matter to me, but promoters care more about power. That's just the reality of the situation. Networks care about hype because that's how they get paid. They get their subscriptions. And Saudi only cares about big events. And unless Turkey feels like Devin Haney versus Lewis Crocker is like a true mega fight that he's willing to put money into, or unless Eddie Hearn just drops his fucking pride and ego and actually wants Devin anywhere near this IBF title, we might not see this fight. You see what I'm saying? And Keyshawn possibly getting that shot before it Dev is absolutely insanity to me, but at the end of the day, that says everything. But, you know what I mean? We could say a whole bunch of shit. We don't really know what's going to happen. We're just going to let time take its course. But y'all let me know. Does it look like Devin is being frozen out? Does Keyshawn deserve that opportunity before Haney? Does he deserve to avenge his fucked up past? Is Eddie letting ego and bitterness play a role here? And is Turkey even looking at Devin versus Crocker as a big fight? You know what I mean? To begin with, drop y'all thoughts in the comments, man. Smash that like button, subscribe to Mazuma TV, and turn on y'all notification because we talk boxing the real way over here, right, son? You see what I'm saying? But signing off, man. I appreciate everybody that came through and showed love as always. I'll be live 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time today to continue cooking up on what's going on in the boxing world. Until then, I hope you guys have a blessed, beautiful one. I'm up out of here, man. Peace.